Hey guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another book tag video or another tag video. It has to do with books, but whatever. And this is the Reader Problems tag. I was tagged by Celestia to do this, so thank you very much, Celestia, for tagging me. And yes, this looks like very involved stuff that's going to reveal my deepest, darkest secrets about my reading habits. Probably not, though, but you know, might reveal some other things. Anyways, we're just gonna jump right in. The first question is, you have 20,000 books on your TBR. Who has this many books on their TBR? Never mind. How in the world do you decide what to read next? Well, first of all, I do not have 20,000 books on my TBR. At least, you know, not yet. But I only have about around 1,000 or something. I mean, seriously. Who wants 20,000 books on their TBR? I would probably blow my brain out having that many. Anyways, how in the world do I decide what to read next? Well, I have very much discovered I am an excessive mood reader these days. So, like, more so than usual. Because, you know, sometimes I could at least set an idea of, oh, I will read this book this month. Nowadays, it's like, no. Just throw that out the window. Don't even, like, think about doing something like a TBR video. Because you'll stress yourself out and not read any of them. So, that's partially the reason why I don't do those. And generally, I just look through my Goodreads want to read list, because that's where I keep all my basically my TBR, and I just look through it, and if a book catches my fancy, I either try to get it from the library, pick it up off my shelf, or just read it. Sometimes I'll just look at my stack of books too, of either read or unread, if I want to reread something or read something new, and I'll, you know, basically pick it the same. If it suddenly jumps out at me, I might pick it and read it, I might not, you know, depends on the mood at the time, but that's generally how I do it. Yeah, sometimes I'll pick them in some other random ways, but that's generally how I do it. I just basically look at the lists or the stacks of them and determine which one jumps out at me, and that's the one I read. So, okay, question 2. You're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? Well, let's see, if you had asked me this, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years ago, I probably would have said I would keep pushing through it because it might get better. I'm getting much better at DNFing books now, though, because I have no such delusions now. Occasionally, I will still push through a book that is just okay. Generally, that's if I'm buddy reading it with someone, or yeah, that's pretty much the only reason. And because my mom and I had this recently, we were reading a book together, and pretty much we both were like, yeah, we're bored with this, so we DNF'd it. So, but generally I DNF them. I don't normally keep pushing myself, because if I do, I will get myself into a reading slump so fast. And I do not want to do that, because I've done that enough this year. So, but yeah, the last few years I've gotten really good about DNFing books that are just so-so. Occasionally I will push through if I feel that the book is getting better and it just has a rough start. But, yeah, not so much. Unless, of course, I am reading an ARC copy that I got from an author. And then I will generally push my way through it, mainly because I got it for a review, so I feel obligated to at least finish it before I review it. Yeah, often those books, generally I don't give a high rating, but I got it for a review and I'm giving my honest opinion. And just so everyone knows, if you are like an author and you want to send me an ARC copy, I will be brutally honest about it. I will be nice about it, and I will at least find something to say that is good about it, but I will also be brutally honest and say if I'd liked or disliked a book. I'm not going to give a false rating to a book just because someone gave it to me for review. So, you know, if you want my more ruthless side, that's it. Okay. Question 3. The end of the year is coming and you're so close but so far away on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? I mean, I've only been on Goodreads like a couple of years now. I forget how many years. 3 years maybe? Either way, so I have never had this problem. I generally just read a lot of books in a year, and I set it for like 100 or so. I set it for a reasonable goal for myself, so I make sure I can make it without stressing myself out. But if I was ever behind, probably I would either, if I did, I would probably just read a lot of shorter books in a row, like really short books or mangas, because there's so many volumes in a series that, you know, you can pretty much rack that up pretty quickly by reading those. But yeah, if I was ever behind, that's probably what I would do. Or I would just go and change my reading challenge, because I read for fun, so I don't want to stress myself out over it. So I might just go into Goodreads and change the goal too. Maybe that's cheating, but you know, whatever works for my mental state, okay? That's just what we do around here. Okay. Question 4. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? Well, if the author's switching the covers, I generally wait until they're all switched, and then I get them. But if it's like I've gotten them over the years and they've like switched or something, I don't really mind that too much. Sometimes I really like that. I also like different book heights, because some of the series I have partial paperback, partial hardcover of the same series. I know a lot of people like get ulcers over that. I don't really mind that. Yeah, so the most oddest is going to, if I ever get big enough bookshelves to display all my books, the oddest looking ones are going to be the Harry Potter series, because I have 2 books that are paperback and the rest are hardcover, and they're all tall and giant, and the paperbacks are like this. So that's going to look funny on a shelf, but I don't really mind it. So yeah, it's not really something I mind. And if I did, if it was like only a couple books or something, I might just repurchase the books to get the covers to match, but I wouldn't necessarily. It depends on how much I dislike one of the covers as opposed to the others, because there are some where I just don't like the covers, and that is it. So yeah. Okay, question 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? Let's see, who do I bond with over my shared feelings on this? Pretty much me, myself, and I. Mainly because I tend to dislike extremely popular books, or I just don't care. It's not that I hate them, I just don't care about them. So, I mean, you know, Celestia knows this, that you can just ask her about the Ravenwood Saga. I don't care about those books. I know everybody else loves those books, but I didn't. I think that was more the author's writing style, since I've since tried to read another of her series and I had the same problem, so I think it just might be the way the author writes as opposed to the story. But yeah, I don't really sweat much about it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel really bad or really guilty that I don't like a particular book that everybody else wants to. And I, you know, sometimes question if I have bad reading taste or something, but everyone's got different reading tastes, so yeah, I'm basically just trying to get over it. So that's my opinion on that. Okay, question 6. You're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you feel? I feel like I'm about to embarrass myself, so I will, choke it back as much as possible and leave the room as quickly as possible. That's pretty much what I do. So, yep, that's it. I mean, when I actually do tear up over a book, it's not too often, and generally if I know it's a book, say I'm rereading a book and I know it's gonna make me start like crying. I'm looking at the King's Scrolls over there by J.L. Knight. I'm looking at that book in particular. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about, because that one, yeah, I just make sure when those scenes are coming up, I'm not around anybody else. So, yeah. Okay, question 7. A sequel of a book you love just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, cry in frustration? I will not cry in frustration. Depends on the series. If it's a certain type of series where they tend to recap a little bit in the beginning, I might just continue on with the series that way. I had that problem when I was reading Keeper of the Lost Cities, and I had a break between, like a big gap of time between book 3 and book 4. I did forget a few things, mainly just characters, a few characters' names and stuff, and certain events. So I was a little confused when I first started the 4th book, but I just kept going because it did recap a little bit what had happened in the previous books. So I was able to keep up, and I just got back into the series just fine. So it depends. If it's something like a series I really adore, like say Ilion Chronicles, I have still not yet read Daikon's Heir. That one I am planning on rereading the entire series because I want to get the whole immersion. It's been, I think 3 or 4 years since I read those books. So, because I think I read them back in 2020. So I haven't read them since then, and I do want to be fresh on it, especially like side characters I may not remember, but might come up in Daikon's Heir, because I have heard from a couple of my friends that a lot of characters that are like vaguely mentioned in the first books like actually show up in the last book. So I kind of just want to be prepared for that and just know what's going on. So for certain series, I might reread the book or books before reading the newest one coming out, or I might just do what I did with Keeper of the Lost Cities and push on. It depends on the series. It depends on how I'm feeling at the time, and yeah, that's kind of just how it all depends, because depending apparently is something that goes very well with this question. Depending on what I say. Okay, question 8. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell nope when they ask? Generally speaking, most people, even among my family, we have extremely different reading tastes, so very rarely, if never, does anyone ask to borrow my books. But the few times they have, it depends on the person. Like, I would happily loan my books to my mom and my sister, because I know they're not going to treat them badly. Other people, not so much. Yeah, and I don't have any friends who ask me for my books. Probably because most of my friends already own these books. Or, you know, they're on the other side of the country. So, you know, they got their own books. Let's see, if someone really asked me, I would probably either just suggest they look at the library, so to speak, because a lot of these books, at least where I live, a lot of these books that I have are actually at the library, or, you know, to like get ebooks or something else. If they really insisted on it, I would just flat out tell them no. So, you know, because I don't like pushy people. So if you start really pushing at me, the answer is going to be no, regardless of how well you treat them, because now you've stamped on my rights as a human being. So, okay, that's it. That's all from my rebellious phase for today. Let's go on to the next question. Question 9. You've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? You know, since I've been in several reading slumps this year, you'd think I'd know the answer. I don't. I eventually just get over it. Generally speaking, it's usually a book that has put me in a reading slump, either for one reason, is I did not like a particular book, or it was just dragging, so it dragged me down too. Or another one that I have noticed, at least with a couple books I read once, if I read too many books, like say I spend all day reading one book, and then I like do that for the next day, I have noticed I will then drop off of my wanting to read, which is kind of weird. So if I read too many books too quickly in a row, that will also put me in a reading slump, which sounds bizarre, but apparently that's the way it goes for me, so at least in my brain right now. So generally then I'll just pick whatever's next and then just read when I feel like it. And yeah, I mean, like currently I was in a reading slump mainly because I was reading one book that I didn't care for. Thankfully my mom and I DNF'd it, so it doesn't matter. And then the other one was I read 2 books like in 2 days, and that's when I discovered the whole reading rapid reading in a row thing actually doesn't work for me anymore. I used to be able to do that, but apparently not anymore. So, but yeah, I am definitely not getting out of my reading slump, because now I'm buddy reading a couple really good books with my family, and I'm also reading a book that I'm really enjoying right now. So I guess I just kind of eventually get out of it. I just pick the most appealing looking book to me and either just go through it, or I end up just leaving. So I don't know. That's kind of just how I do it. That's not really much of a solution, but I really don't have another answer for that. Okay, question 10. There are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? Probably very few. I have a very small book budget a month, so I generally save up for the books I really, really want. Like, I have a very small list of books that I want to get when as soon as they're out, or pre-order them, and it's like 5 books, and 2 of them are Yona the Dawn volumes, which I know I would get anyways. But, so, yeah, it's just, yeah, if I'm interested in a new book, I will put it on my Goodreads want to read list, because sometimes also if they sit there long enough, or if I've had time to think about it, I may decide, I really don't necessarily want that particular book, or it doesn't interest me after all, you know, the interest wears off, and I'm just like, when I look back on it again, I'm just like, this actually won't interest me at all. So I generally wait, unless it's by a particular author I enjoy, or it's a particular series I really enjoy, like Yona of the Dawn. That one is like a definite. And these other 3 books that I have on my list are from authors I've really, really enjoyed their books so far. So yeah, it's like one of them I know I would definitely buy everything she wrote, which is why I have her books on there. And another one is I've read several of her books so far and I've really enjoyed all of them. So I just want to get that one. So it depends. Depends on the book, depends on the author, depends on my budget at the time, things like that. Otherwise, I will either just put it on my Goodreads want to read list, or if I know I would want to buy it, I'll just put it on my Amazon wish list and just wait until I can get it. Okay, question 11. After you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelves before you get to them? This would also vary, depending on my mood. That whole mood reading thing that we were talking about earlier, yeah, that is not necessarily dependent on what books I have either. So, yes, they can sit there for a while. I think I've had one book on my physical TBR that's been sitting there for probably a good year, if not 2 by now. Mainly, it's not that I don't want to read it, it's the fact that it's a YA contemporary, and I very rarely, if ever, read contemporary anymore. So, yeah, it's not necessarily one that when I look at, I'm just like, oh, I want to read that. Most of the time I look at it and like, oh, I want to read that someday. Just not today. So, yeah. So, depends on my mood. And my mood is ever fluctuating these days, so who really knows when I'll get to all those books. And a couple of them intimidate me. Even because they're 1,000 pages, but you know, we're not going to get into that. So, anyways, okay. And the last question, question 12, is to tag someone. I have no idea who has done this tag, so I'm going to tag Lindsay from BFCG and Oshina from Oshina Gotta Read 'Em All. I will tag you 2 ladies, so feel free to do these. Also, if you watch this video and you also have a YouTube channel and you're like, this looks like fun, and consider yourself tagged, I will leave all the prompts, questions, whatever you call them, down below in the description. And yeah, also, if you don't have a YouTube channel but you also want to answer these, feel free to copy the questions and answer them in the comments down below, because I would love to hear your answers on these. And yeah, that is the tag. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much again, Celestia, for tagging me on this. Now you know all my deep, dark secrets of my reading habits, or, you know, lack thereof. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you'd like. I always love hearing from you. And with that, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time, because I just said that. But whatever. Okay, I will go now. So, have a good day, guys. Bye.